And I hope you know, Your Excellency, that you can count on us.
You can count on us, Hegseth told Thani. Well, he's probably got that bit right, but can America count on Qatar? Qatar is a tiny country of about 300,000 citizens in the Persian Gulf. It is a Wahhabi dictatorship, an absolute Islamist monarchy under Sharia law. Most of its residents are indentured workers from abroad who have no stake in the national wealth and share few of the freedoms enjoyed by the Qatari citizens. They lock up homosexuals, ban public expressions of Christianity, and violently suppress any dissent against the Al Thani royal family, the nation's supreme rulers. Qatar has spent $250 million on lobbying the US since 2016, hiring 88 lobbying and PR firms and funding think tanks which would otherwise be tearing their hair out over Qatar's human rights record. Qatar also logged 627 in-person meetings with US political contacts from 2021 to 2025, more lobbying contacts than any other foreign government. They have put former CIA, Department of Defense, Ministry of Justice and State Department officials on their payroll and funneled billions into American universities and think tanks, influencing US arms sales, military decisions and diplomatic messaging. They have also passed suitcases of cash bribes to European officials, running into millions. Yet, this same nation also gave $6 billion US dollars to the Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist organization which spread out of Egypt early last century. Qatar also continues to host leading members of Hamas and other terrorist groups in five-star hotels in Doha, their capital. The Western approach to radical Islam tells the world more about our interests than our principles. We declare war on Islamism when it launches attacks in the West. We condemn it thoroughly in Iran, we debate it furiously in Palestine, and we ignore it almost entirely in Nigeria and Sudan, where it claims more lives than anywhere else on earth. But most alarmingly, we court it, cultivate it, and encourage it when it comes to us with money. This last scenario is rare because Islamist regimes are truly appalling at generating wealth, but an abundance of natural gas makes Qatar a dangerous exception. Qatar should be much more Western than it is. The irony about their support for the Muslim Brotherhood is that the Muslim Brotherhood was set up to oppose British imperial rule, but the Qatari state was actually founded by the British Empire. Talk about biting the hand which feeds you. The British Empire also handed Qatar their vast natural resource of gas, which they now sell back to the West to obtain the cash, which they then use to lobby us and manipulate our foreign policy while providing cash handouts to our enemies. So, sorry guys, we the British created the problem of Qatar. We failed to impress our Western values on them, and now we all pay them to impress their values on us. You only have to look at how Al Jazeera portrayed the US retreat from Afghanistan as a success to see why American leaders are grateful for a Middle Eastern government which will handle their global PR, even though that same government is friendly with the Taliban that the US had just retreated from. Al Jazeera and the joint Qatar-US El Udeid airbase in Qatar have been valuable assets to Western governments, so no wonder that the Western political class continues to tolerate our reverse colonization by this ghastly little country. But when we need Qatar more than Qatar needs us, then we begin to see the true colors of our dubious friend and ally. The story of Qatar's infiltration in America really starts after 9/11, when the United States decided to pull back its military base from Saudi Arabia. Qatar, which is strategically placed within striking distance of Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Israel, seized this opportunity to scale up the Al Udeid airbase, which is now the biggest US military airbase in the Middle East. So began a strong military alliance with the radical Islamist state, which has now positioned itself as intermediary between the West and the West's worst enemies. The Biden administration reaffirmed this arrangement, giving Qatar the status of a major non-NATO ally and expanding the lease on Al Udeid by another 10 years. Hosting a US base abroad should not give the hosting country leverage, especially not if that country is aligned with our worst enemies. But under America's protection, Qatar has become bolder and bolder in infiltrating the West, and last year the US finalized an agreement that will allow Qatar to build an Air Force facility in Idaho. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shook on the deal with Saud bin Abdulrahman Al Thani in October, describing the Qatari facility at Mountain Home Air Base as just another example of our partnership. I'm afraid he's probably right. 300 Qatari military personnel will now be stationed there over 10 years, and Qatari pilots will be trained by American airmen to fly F-15 fighter jets just 80 kilometers from Boise, Idaho.
Location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. Is just another example of our partnership. And I hope you know, Your Excellency, that you can count on us.
You can count on us, Hegseth told Thani. Well, he's probably got that bit right, but can America count on Qatar? The Qatari Idaho airbase was only possible because the press, politicians, and pundits have been bribed into silence. The last time a hostile nation stationed its troops on mainland US soil was in 1814 when James Madison was fighting King George III. This time, America held the door wide open. Every deal the West negotiates with Qatar has been bad for the West. Can you be surprised? Their leaders are opposed to our values and not exposed to votes, far less to scrutiny in the press. Their wealth won't dry up from economic mismanagement, so they can just keep funding the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, Hezbollah, al-Nusra and the Houthis, and when they are caught red-handed buying influence from politicians, as they have been in Europe and America, it is the Western party which gets slapped on the wrist, while the Qatari side lives to fight another day. They come to us with no table stakes, and their reputation is untouchable because of their patronage of the very news outlets, think tanks, universities, and public figures who should be criticizing them. Now, as Trump navigates relations with Iran and other fractions in the Muslim Brotherhood redouble their efforts against the West, we should ask ourselves whether we should really be training Air Force pilots for a radical Islamic regime on American soil with some of the most advanced military equipment that the West has ever developed. It is sometimes said that America has no allies, only interests. Qatar has outdone the USA in this cynical formula. Now the discussion must start about how to contain the problem of a state which the West has set up as both shield and sword in the Middle East. A state which subverts us at home and attacks us abroad. If we don't get this right, our laziness, corruption and greed will be on display for the world to see, weakening our claim to be defenders of global justice and peace.